So through this quarantine for me, it hasn't been that big of a change because the only thing I would really do outside of like going out would probably be going to recording sessions. So I guess it was a blessing in disguise because my best friend and I actually started perfecting my songwriting and we started messing around with GarageBand. And as anybody who's in quarantine knows, they're probably super into online shopping right now. So we started online shopping for I don't know exactly what it's called because he does more of the production end of it, but there's this like square thing and you press it and it can make beats. So we started getting that. We got a new Rode microphone. So we're trying to do everything remote by doing it on our own. So I guess the quarantine was a blessing in disguise because we started making our own music, writing our own music, starting to learn how to produce ourselves. And also, like, obviously from a growth standpoint, I've grown a lot. You kind of are forced to be alone with yourself. So you kind of learn self-love and like, oh, okay, what are some things I could do with my spare time to help me grow as a person or grow and learn new hobbies. So I actually started learning Italian and Spanish on Duolingo. Shout out Duolingo. But I started learning 2 new languages. I'm always a reader, but I started reading a lot. I've read 2 books throughout this quarantine, hopefully getting on a 3rd pretty soon. I'm almost done with my 2nd, and just spending a lot of time with my family. And I'm sure everybody can agree that spending time with your family sometimes is difficult when we have our day-to-day regular lives because of our jobs. So due to quarantine and due to COVID, I think a lot of people can appreciate that they're stuck at home with their family for some bonding. So I feel like the industry changed when COVID became like a bigger thing to a pandemic when we had, because at first we all kind of thought like, oh, it's just a flu, we'll find a cure. But that ended up not happening. So it ended up being a bigger thing where we're still looking for a cure. So people are still in quarantine. I think sometimes people forget that we're still in a pandemic. So I think just as a reminder, we have to remember that we are still in a pandemic and just to be cautious of that, you know, social distancing and all that. But with that being said, in the industry, it's changed so much because as artists, I think we're so used to like going out and going and performing at clubs or going and networking and meeting new people, going to the studio, having face-to-face interviews and things like that. But fortunately, due to social media and due to technology nowadays, we're able to do those things virtually. We're able to do concerts and live shows through YouTube, through Facebook. For example, I know Post Malone, he's one of my favorites. He did a tribute to Nirvana while there was still quarantine going on, but he did that through YouTube. He had millions of people watching, and each person that watched could donate to do like causes that are good. And for example, one of them that he was doing was for COVID-19. They would donate to try and find a cure. So it's a good and bad thing because it's definitely flipped our world upside down, but it's good because we're able to perform like we want to from the comfort of our own home and be able to raise money at the same time for good causes like, for example, Black Lives Matter movement or for COVID-19 in itself. And I feel like that's a good thing. Social media also, everybody's on Instagram Live. I noticed that. I love Instagram Live, but everybody's Instagram living about their day-to-day lives. I feel like it becomes more personal to those who are supporting us because they could see how our lives are now when we're not out running about doing things for a job. It's more like we could do it at home, comfortable, and they could see how we wake up, how we manage to do those things. And I think it's kind of inspiring for those who say they're less fortunate and aren't able, and they're upcoming artists, they aren't able to go to the studio all the time and things like that. Being stuck at home and having to work with what you have, I feel like that's great for them to see. Because they're like, well, we're all stuck at home. If take, for example, Sweetie or Katy Perry, if they're doing it all from their home, from GarageBand, for example, maybe I don't have to have a ton of money to try and make my dreams come true because they could do it from the comfort of their own home.